Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. All weighed in and ready to go, so we'll go through the weigh-in weights for the two heavyweight fights on the top-ranked card in Verona, New York. Efe Ajagba versus Stephan Shaw, the main event, and then Jonnie Rice versus Guido Vianello, which is the chief support or co-main event. So this is a very good card. Looking forward to it. So after the weights, we'll go to some comments from the presser this week and some other comments that have been made during fight week, and then round out with a few thoughts, because I've been going back and forward on the main event, but I've landed on one guy for my pick. So in terms of the weight, so you can see here, press release from Top Rank. We'll get to some pictures soon, but in terms of Efe Ajagba, official weight 235 pounds. So Ajagba more recently has been in the 230s, and that signals to me that he's ready to go rounds and will be in the shape to do so. He's sort of fine down from the 240s, which he was previously, but the last couple of fights he's been sort of in that sort of early to mid 230s, so this is a good weight for him. Stephan Shaw 239.5, and actually we'll just go to a Lou DiBella's post for DiBella Entertainment, so you can see Shaw here. Yeah, he looks in shape. He looks ready. I think that Stephan Shaw 239, decent weight for him. And I think also like Efe Ajagba, and you can see here, this is them side by side. They will be ready to go, and they look in the best shape possible. So hopefully no excuses. This is a big fight for both. A bit of a crossroads fight for Efe Ajagba. Obviously, he's sort of become a little bit of a gatekeeper, maybe someone who's 25 to 30 in the world, and he can beat certain opposition, but certain guys will be too good for him. Frank Sanchez basically schooled him to some extent and made him put his right hand away after he was dropped to the canvas. Stephan Shaw, he's looking for a breakthrough moment. Remember, he's gone the best part of a decade in his career so far, the 18 fights unbeaten, but he's been mostly under the radar, almost subterranean, in fact. But getting back to the weight, so you've got, and this is for the co-main event, Guido Vianello, 239 pounds. That's decent for him. He had been, I think, a little bit heavier recently, and it didn't really suit him. Jonnie Rice, 274.25 pounds. And that is key for Rice, because when he's been in the 280s previously, he has been good when he's been fresh and landing some big right hands, but he does tend to sort of gas a bit, and his activity level drops the further a fight goes on. So that's actually, given the relatively short notice that he got pulled into this. Remember, it was meant to be a main event of Ajagba versus Oscar Rivas. Rivas pulls out. Shaw steps up to the main event. Jonnie Rice steps in to face Vianello. So 274 gives me more confidence that Rice is going to be able to do the rounds, and probably at an okay clip. He's not exactly a volume puncher or anything like that, but having a little bit more gas in the tank in the second half of the fight, should it go that distance, is going to be key against Vianello, who likely will be able to do the rounds as well. So we'll just go through a few different pictures from the weigh-in. Also, here we are, Guido Vianello, Jonnie Rice, and Rice. He looks in decent shape. I mean, it's not like he looked grossly overweight or anything when he was, say, 280-ish, but the thing is, being a little bit lighter, I think, is advantageous for him for this fight. So what we'll do is get to the press conference, the different fighters, and some comments. Efe Ajagba says, I have the name, the silent roller, because I don't talk too much. Since I came back from my surgery, I've tried to do everything to fight more. That's why I only had one fight last year. I've been trying to get more fights. I've made adjustments for Saturday night. We'll see how it goes. I'm ready for him. I wanted to fight Oscar Rivas before, but that changed, but now Stephan Shaw has the opportunity to fight me. It means a lot to represent my country. I just want to be like them, Peter and Akamwande. Ever since I started boxing, I've tried to be like them. I'm ready to put on a show. I'm going to put more pressure. I can't wait. I'm so excited to be here. And Efe Ajagba used to have, was it the one and only? Definitely the Silent Roller is a more recent nickname from the past year or so that he has taken on. Used to be something else. I think it was it the one and only? I'm pretty sure it was. So Stephan Shaw says, I want to thank God for giving me this opportunity to have that pedigree behind me that carries me. That's my foundation. I go off that. St. Louis has a rich history of boxing. I feel right now I'm the pride of St. Louis. I'm looking to continue that legacy of having great world champions represent St. Louis, Missouri. I've got God on my side. God makes all the situations that I've faced in my entire career, and He has made it work. I've faced adversity that the average man wouldn't be able to deal with. Coming from St. Louis, beating the odds, and being on this stage to have my moment. I feel great. I'm excited. I'm a third-generation fighter. I'm looking to become a world champion. Saturday night, I'm going to make my mark. Guido Vianello, so he's facing Jonnie Rice. He says, I was happy to have my fight in my country, but I'm happy to fight here as well because America is my second home. My last opponent was very tough. I got him with a lot of punches. It was incredible because I have my gladiator style and he had a wild style. So it was good for the Italian people. I have to jump in there. Gladiator style. What? He looked very pedestrian against Jay McFarlane. And I noticed as well that in Fight Week, they've actually been sort of promoting a clip on Top Rank social media of Vianello throwing something like 30-odd punches to get a guy out of there, a hapless journeyman earlier in his career. And I thought, is that really the sort of clip you want to show? Because you could take from that he didn't have the power to stop the guy with one or two punches. He had to rely on basically dozens to get him out of there, to get the ref to jump in. Anyway, I digress. So he continues, Johnny has a lot of experience, more than me, but I'm ready. I've been training very hard. I've been training very hard for 4 years since I moved to the USA. I train all the time to fight in a war, so I'm ready for this. Then you have Rice saying, this means the world to me right now. It's another chance to beat another undefeated fighter, and that's what's on my mind. I'm going to go in there and beat him. A big reason I moved to Las Vegas is to constantly be in the mindset of boxing, constantly be in the mindset of the grind. I've had the great chance to work with a lot of heavyweight warriors who came through Vegas and kept me rejuvenated and constantly inspired. I really don't think that ring rust will play a part. Well, let's face it, Vianello hasn't been super active in the past couple of years, but he has more recently had that fight against Jay McFarlane, although he didn't look fantastic, as I mentioned. And I guess I would say you've got a case of, because I've seen a lot of people talking up Guido Vianello, picking him, saying he's got the pedigree from the amateurs, but he was an okay amateur, but it's not like he was dominating. And he struggled a couple of years ago against Kingsley eBay and arguably lost that fight and got a gift draw. But Jonnie Rice is above eBay's level. He's a much better version of Kingsley eBay. So for Vianello's sake, hopefully he has improved and been developing, because if not, he could be in trouble here. And given he had that performance against eBay, didn't look good against Jay McFarlane, as I've said in a previous video, is this a case that Top Rank's like, well, this is really sort of loser leave town type territory in terms of featuring you prominently on cards, because Vianello's had a couple of chances, hasn't really taken them, whereas say someone like Jared Anderson has made every post a winner. There was a number of guys that sort of turned pro at the same time in the heavyweight stable that signed with Top Rank, and Anderson is the one that sort of pushed through. Vianello hasn't really sort of fired yet, and Sonny Conto, same as well. He's sort of been injured and sort of on the back burner now. No real shine on him. But in terms of some other comments, Stephan Shaw says, I was born ready and bred for this. I shall reign supreme. And this is from the press conference. Photo there. This one here. You have Vianello looking towards the compere. And you've got Shaw saying, Ajagba, he's known as a puncher, but I'm a puncher as well. I'm a boxer puncher, and I'm not just some one-dimensional guy. I truly feel that Ajagba is very one-dimensional, and I feel like I'm going to be victorious Saturday night. And he does raise a good point, because Ajagba, after a number of rounds, can become a little bit predictable. He throws the jab, it's basically all the same pace, and he looks for a right hand. And we saw he has been, figured out and timed by the likes of Frank Sanchez. Is Stephan Shaw going to be able to effectively do the same thing? Take a few rounds to acclimate to Ajagba, his style, and then basically start to pick him apart and rack up rounds. And his promoter, Lou DiBella, because he's co-promoted by DiBella Entertainment, as well as being co-promoted by Top Rank, he talks about Shaw taking on this main event. When he was offered the fight with Ajagba, I said to him, maybe you want to stick with Guido. It's an easy fight for you. You're going to look like King Kong. Maybe take that first fight. He was like, no, man, I want the main event. I want this opportunity. I'm ready for it. I don't want to F around with Guido. I know I'm going to beat Guido. I know I'm going to beat Ajagba. Give me the main event. Then I made the fight for him, and that was it. I made the fight for him because he wanted it. And it's good to see Shaw with that ambition. And let's face it, I guess that sort of sums up a boxing promoter's mentality as well, that DiBella was happy for the easier fight to occur. But Shaw's been basically pro for a decade now, 18 fights in. No real profile to speak of beyond hardcore boxing fans and heavyweight fans. And even a lot of heavyweight fans haven't seen many of his fights because he's been fighting in obscurity. So you have a situation where he's like, yes, I need to take this opportunity. And it is the biggest opportunity of his career. So I like the mentality of him going, yep, I want it, I need it. And he's looking for this to be his breakthrough moment. At the moment, Stephan Shaw is on the outside looking in. He's probably somewhere in the same boat as Ajagba, outside the top 20, but he wants to make some noise. He wants to start, positioning himself for bigger and better fights. But he needs some names in the interim, like an Ajagba, to help him with his cause. And let's face it, you've got a number of other heavyweights, and especially heavyweights in the Salita stable, where they get to a certain level and they don't fight anyone. They just call for big names relentlessly. Think of Otto Wallin, for example, who hasn't done really anything forever. But you've got a situation with Shaw here where he's like, come on, I need this opportunity. This is going to help change my life. So I like the energy from Stephan Shaw. It's good to see. So who do I think is going to win? Well, I'm going with Shaw here. I'm going by points. I do consider that Ajagba versus Shaw is close to a 50-50, and I've been going back and forth with myself about how this plays out. But if Shaw can avoid the power and avoid getting caught with something early, I do think that he's in a good shot of actually racking up rounds and outpointing Ajagba, maybe a 7-3, 6-4 type of decision. I don't think it's going to be easy. You've got a guy in Ajagba who, even if he can't get his best work away, he can still keep working. He's got a good engine. He can throw a lot of punches. And I think we also have to remember Ajagba's faced better competition in general. He's got the better wins on his resume as well. Let's face it, Ali Aaron Demiresh, that win that Ajagba got, and it wasn't controversial. He did outpoint him. He just basically outvolumed him. Ali Aaron Demireshin's gone on to pick up wins against Gerald Washington and Adam Kovnatsky. So in hindsight, it's actually looking pretty good for Ajagba, that win, and sort of helps place him a little bit better, because sometimes it can be hard as a guy 20 or 30 or 40 in the world, and you need more data points to really know, because the matchmaking sometimes can flatter and deceive. But I think Ajagba is one of these guys. He's a gatekeeper type fighter at the moment. He's got ambitions, and he needs to beat Shaw to reignite his sort of path to something bigger and better. And for Shaw, he just needs to take the opportunity and get the win to announce himself, because I think if he beats Ajagba, all of a sudden the profile gets a decent hit. He becomes a bit better known, and likely will be in a much bigger fight later in 2023. I mean, there's been talk of Jared Anderson. I wouldn't mind seeing Shaw or Ajagba face the winner of Vianello versus Rice. I mean, there's other heavyweights within the Top Rank stable that they could pit them against as well. What do you make of it all? Who have you got? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. I'm out.